Hey friends, it's great to be back on Facebook Live for Beth Meyer Synagogue. I'm Rabbi Jenny Solomon, and I'm here to share a mincha moment, a moment of afternoon Torah, some spiritual wisdom to support our shared spiritual practice and seeking. So we are in the midst of the amazing story of our exodus from Egypt. And in this week's Torah portion, B'Shalach, we have, of course, the incredibly dramatic and climactic moment in which the Israelites cross through the Sea of Reeds, the sea parts, and we escape. We escape Egypt. And I always think to myself, like, wouldn't this be the obvious ending to the story of our people's journey? I mean, it's perfect, you know, all the drama, the sea parts, we're free, we sing and dance, and we call it a day. But of course, this is not the end of the story, and so too in our lives. Those joyful, redemptive moments, please God, may they come. They're amazing, but inevitably, not too long after, we continue to meet the challenges of life. And in the case of Moses, a mere one or two verses after the Israelites crossed through the sea, which has miraculously parted, they're complaining about water, they're complaining about food, they're complaining about continuing to be lost in the wilderness. I mean, it's the classic story of kvetching, complain, grumble, after something amazing. And anyone who's a parent has experienced this, and anyone who's a human has probably had that experience. So it is normal to have moments of redemption and grace and gratitude, and then moments later find ourselves wanting something else or rejecting our experience of life, which at times is unpleasant. But one of the things that the Israelites complain about is where they're going to find food, and that the food isn't as good as they remembered it as slaves back in Egypt. And part of the journey then is that God begins giving this sort of magical spiritual food to the people in the form of manna. Manna, which man in Hebrew, which literally falls from the sky each day, with a double portion on Friday before the beginning of Shabbat. And I want to suggest that this manna is in many ways just a beautiful example of some core values in our Jewish spiritual practice, and probably in every spiritual practice. So one of the things that our Torah teaches us in this week's Parsha is that the manna that would fall would only be fresh for one day. That is to imply that, and it would literally rot and like get bugs in it after one day. And I think this is such a great example about our special sort of highlighting the importance of non-greed, of not hoarding, and of sort of a day-by-day practice. The second thing that the Torah teaches is that that as much as people would grab, they could sort of like only hold enough for themselves. And again, this touches on kind of non-greed and hoarding, but I think it also points us in the direction of practicing, doing, eating, drinking, acquiring enough. And of course, that is a very individual metric. But I think being attuned to what feels like enough for you today, for me today, there's some great wisdom in that. And also that we learn that the Israelites got a double portion on Friday, that not only did they not need to go out and collect the manna on Shabbat, but they were forbidden from doing so. And in fact, the Torah actually says, that some people didn't listen and they just kept going out on Shabbat, like looking to collect more. Like, how long are the people going to do this? I'm telling you, there's enough here. There's enough here on Friday so that you can rest. And here too, an incredibly powerful teaching about the importance of efforting, yes, of doing our work, and just enjoy and appreciate what is already here. So, so many things we can learn about the manna, but I think just thinking about the way in which it would come each day, of not hoarding it, of not letting it spoil by sort of storing up, but instead just being present with what comes each day, with the gifts each day, and of knowing that we must take time to rest and stop sort of our ongoing pursuit of more. These are such wise things that we can actually practice and we can train in. And I want to also suggest that it can serve as, I don't want to say a relief, but a reminder that a spiritual practice is built brick by brick, day by day. Every time we open a siddur, a prayer book, every time we get on our mat or sit in our prayer seat or space, every time we open our heart and utter blessings of gratitude, every time we pause before we eat and remember the source from which our food comes, these are the practices that we can never do once and for all. We can't store them up. We build them day by day by day with moments of rest. All right, wishing everyone a good week, and God willing, that each one of us continues to feel supported in our daily practice with the gifts of grace that are always sort of falling, so to speak, if we but look for them. Shalom, peace.